morning. Good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Look, it is Devo Energy. You are now rocking with the Monday crew here. It is the start of the week. Who all is excited to be here? Crew,
Let's
y'all ready?
go.
Ready to jump
Get
in?
it.
Y'all ready to jump in?
Devo energy. Let's go. I'm so excited.
Monday
Go. Look,
morning
I
live.
already know bro. I was going. Bro, I got the cut on this. Look, all right now.
Hey man, hey, you got
Good for you.
record a music video today, man. You got
Right. Look. He's gonna be on the Become workout later on, ladies and gentlemen. Like he will be on the screen. But we are so excited to be rocking with you all here to start a brand new week of Devo Energy. Look, as you can see, I am not Tam, but I am Julian. I will be your host for today. Access Grant is how some people know me, but I'm just so blessed. Julian had to sound up with it. Look. Had to go ahead and jump on in. I am so blessed, so honored to be here with you all today to share in the word. But before we do that, I want to just go around and ask everybody, for those who don't know, who may be just tuning in for the first time, we are in the midst, the second week of our Become Fast. All right. Throw your tools up, team. We're in the second week. So going around the horn really quickly, how y'all feeling about it, right? Clint, how you feeling?
Man, I'm not gonna lie. When we shifted gears this year and focused on some different areas, 21 days, breaking that up into some key categories. So really focusing on the word, and I think it's just the way that the church is able to kind of set up that support. So like, boom, you get a text going live in the evening to kind of keep you on track, man. So I think that's really cool. Now we're gonna see how this week go. We got to lock in. Got to lock in this week, but last week was strong.
That's it. Delicia, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling a little sore this morning. I don't know if y'all did day two. It was a little harder on that faith and fitness part. But it's been really good. I would say really fruitful. Last week we was in our word, and Jen and Pastor Leslie have been blessing my life every night for Become. I've also been being diligent in creating my own rhythm. So getting in my word, removing the distractions, and locking in. I love it. It's been good.
That's good. That's
good. It's been great for me as well. Like, I think one of the beautiful things is, number one, and she said it beautifully, is rhythm. For me, this fast, to make it a rhythm and a part of my life. When you think about, for me, I think about sports and things like that. I'm used to seeing rhythm as a good thing. When somebody's in rhythm, you continue to feed them, they continue to grow, success continues to happen. And so, oftentimes I'm a morning person. So with our first 7 days, with us getting inside of the word, it was such a great addition to my rhythm that if something happens where kids throw us off and I'm not able to do my word in the morning like I traditionally do, that great reminder in the evening, like, all right, you settle down before you do anything else, hop into your word. So it's creating a new rhythm on the backside in the evening before I lay down as well. This fitness thing, I'm so excited because I've been in the rhythm already from a fitness standpoint. So it's stacking onto it. So stacking days, if you will. And so I'm excited. I love when things get switched up because I am a systematic person. I'll do boring over and over. And so this switch up has just kind of activated a different excitement of faith for me. So I love it.
That's good.
Yeah. For me, man, is the fact that one of the a part of the working definition that Bishop said becoming is intentional, and I love the fact how intentional my family has been with this fast the first 7 days. They've been intentional with nights. They've been intentional of trying, of praying. They've been intentional, starting this fast off, and I think this is a key part of this fast this year. Is helping them to be more consistent. It's helping them to be intentional in that area. I get reminders for myself. Hey, it's time to get on at 7:00. Hey, it's time to get on. And it's really, and then I get the feedback from my family, from Jennifer and Pastor Leslie, how they break down. They say how they can understand it better when they break it down this way. So, hey, this right here has been changing for me. And then, like y'all said this morning, I got up this morning. Did the workout. I work out anyway, so it was really something to help me to enhance my workout even more.
That's good. That's really good. Well, I appreciate you all sharing that. Look, typically we will leave that for the end of the message to just talk about. But look, it's week 2. I'm excited about the fast myself. The last week, and many people already mentioned it, the focus was on rhythm, developing a rhythm, getting in the word and making sure that's a part of your life. Now this week is about integration. Okay, how do we integrate that? How do we make our faith come alive? And so we'll circle back at the end. But if you want to be a part of it, I want to give you the chance right now to text BECOME to 28950. Okay, text BECOME to 28950. All right, so now back to regular scheduled program. We'll jump back in. And like we always do, it would just be, I would have no manners, right, if I did not go ahead and announce who all is in the chat. We have so many people that are rocking with us from all over the world. If you will, please go ahead and drop your city in the chat. Family, who do we see? Where are people rocking from? I see Decatur, Alabama is in the chat.
I see
Knoxville, Tennessee,
Barbados, y'all.
All right, Los Angeles. Okay, all right, Durham, North Carolina. My brother used to live in Durham, so got some great memories there.
DeSoto, Texas in the house.
Okay, all right. Marietta, Georgia. Winter Haven, Florida. That's an oxymoron, isn't it? Winter Haven, Florida, right? See, look, does it get cold there? Memphis, Tennessee is in the building.
We got London in the building.
I was looking for.
You know, London is always gonna come in heavy. You know, Camden, Alabama. All right,
Florida.
Yeah. The 2-7. All right, look. Tam is back of house, so she is on. So I'm sure she's throwing up 2-7 right now. Selma, you know, she had to make sure it hit the screen. Had to. Well, look, we are so happy to have Tampa, Florida. Come on now. Look, we are so happy to have everyone joining from all across the world. We thank you for taking time out of your morning to join us because we're about to dive into this word. And so yesterday, Pastor Mike Jr. preached a mighty word that was entitled, Let Them. Okay.
Yes,
it was entitled, Let Them. And it was powerful, you all. And essentially what he did is that he came from Galatians 1:10. And so we'll go ahead and read that so that everyone will know where we're coming from. And it reads, it says, and this comes from the New Living Translation, NLT. It says, obviously, I'm not trying to win the approval of people, but of God. All right. We're coming from Galatians 1:10. He says, obviously, I'm not trying to win the approval of people, but of God. And so as we are in this Becoming series, he asked the tough question. It says, Becoming begins with a hard question, which is who has the final say over our life? That's right. Let them in the chat. Let them in the chat. And it really spoke. He really spoke to the danger of being a people pleaser, specifically always working and letting your motive be to please the approval, to please man. All right. Paul drives a clear line. He draws a clear line. Approval and assignment cannot share the same throne. When people's opinion become the compass, obedience starts to drift. All right, I need to say that again. When people's opinions become the compass, obedience starts to drift. But when God is the audience, you become anchored. All right. When God is the audience, you become anchored. Trying to please everyone will exhaust you, but serving God will form you. Pastor talked a lot yesterday about that formation piece, so we'll dive into it. But, let's go ahead and talk about it, crew. Let's talk about what did you get out of the sermon yesterday? And anyone can jump in. I think you're on mute, Clint.
There we go. It was packed full of gems, man. I was really locked in from beginning to end because he was constantly just dropping things that you could pull and apply in your life right now. Early on, he mentioned just talking about not letting disappointment affect your demeanor.
Come
on.
So
I think we can we can kind of get so caught up into thinking everything has to go perfect or everything has to go according to plan when life is a lot less about perfection and a lot more like baseball when you really think about it. Because in baseball, if you go up and you get a hit 3 or 4 times out of every 10, you are considered operating at the top of the game. And so we just have to operate discipline, following what God has called us to do, and taking the swings he wants us to take. Like sometimes it could be a part of development if everything doesn't always go according to plan. But when you make enough plays or enough wins, that stacks. And so you don't have to get so focused on winning every time or everything going perfect every time, to the point where anytime anything doesn't go correctly, you get thrown off track. And what I mean is, like, somebody cut you off in traffic. Like now you are flustered and frazzled and your whole day is sideways because of something happened that you didn't intend to happen. And so don't let things just affect your demeanor. Like, stay locked in on what God has called you to do. Stay locked in on purpose. And that will kind of help you stay in line with more obedience versus trying to follow what people are saying.
That's good, Clint. That's good.
That's good. I could jump in now. It was the approval versus the assignment part for me. With Bishop clearly, he brought out that Paul draws a clear line that people's approval demands adjustment, like Clint said, and God's approval demands alignment. Then he said the moment applause becomes the goal, obedience stops being the standard. Approval is a moving target. Obedience is a solid foundation. That's what he said, that approval is a moving target, but obedience is of a solid foundation. And that brought me to the fact that
right. Hey, look, that's it.
That brought me to the point of the key point that take away from that we have on lesson days, that trying to please everyone will exhaust you. Trying to please people is like putting your soul on a treadmill. Y'all see what I did there, right? Because it's fitness and faith and fitness.
Oh, boy, drop my
But yeah, pleasing people puts your soul on a treadmill that would never stop. Expectations change, your opinions change, your approval moves. No matter how much you adjust, explain, or perform, someone always want more. They want different. They want less of you. That's because people's approval are unstable. People's approval is conditional. People's approval is dependent on their comfort and not your calling. When you live for the applause, you live for anxiousness. So you welcome anxiousness. You welcome in worry. You welcome in doubt. You welcome in depression. You welcome in low self-esteem, self-confidence. It asks you to manage outcomes God never assigned you to manage. So that I'm a big part of that. I've learned for myself, even in recent months. Yeah, I'm a people's person. I really am. But I can also be a people pleaser. I sometimes look for approval of people over my assignment, and I'm guilty of that.
That's good. I have a lot of notes. I always have a lot of notes, but to stay with the same theme of approval and assignment, one of the key things that stuck out to me from PMJ's message was people's approval demands adjustment and God's approval demands alignment. And for me, it was knowing the difference between what adjusting and being aligned is. And it kind of went to the second point that he made under that was you can't chase affirmation and still carry authority. And for me, it was the little sub bullet of being boldly in who God called you to be and who God called me to be. And so my alignment looks like kind of how we're saying for this fast is proximity. So I know that I'm in alignment versus being in adjusting to what the world or what people want is when I'm fasting and I'm praying and I'm close to God and I'm seeking him in everything I do. Then I can stand firm and know that, no, I'm making this decision and I'm doing these things for God's approval and to be aligned with God rather than what people expect of me. And I even put in the note, like what he said, the moment you let applause become the goal, obedience stops being the standard. And so as long as you keep the mindset of obedience being what you're trying to reach, then the applause and affirmations from people won't become your motive.
Come on.
Yeah, at least if you could run that back for us just really quick about obedience, because that was just powerful. I don't want us to run past that. What you said?
Right. He said, "This PMJ, like, quote my pastor, amen." He said, "The moment you let applause become the goal, obedience stops being the standard." And that's important because that's how you know whether you're adjusting to what the world wants or you're trying to stay aligned, and you're being consistent, creating a rhythm of alignment with God.
That's so good.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. What I got out was one of the same things that Clint. When we talk about that reaction piece, I'm not gonna go into the same demeanor quote, but one of the things that I want to talk through is outcomes belong to God and reactions belong to us. One of the areas that I've been challenged in is as a parent, and with me having young girls that are growing, they're getting into this phase of my oldest is in the third, she'll be in middle school soon. But how I react to the things that she say, she's in the phase of determining how much she's going to open up and allow me to in her world to process. So it's how I react to certain things, it's how I build the trust, how I'm going to get her ear, and how much she's going to value what I say over the world, her friends. PMJ does a great job of sharing his parenting tips and how he's parenting differently with his boys or his children. And so for me, the reaction piece, because I haven't always reacted in the best way, right? One of the things he said is most of the stress, half of the stress we experience is not what that did, it's how we responded to what they did. And so my child will do something, I will react before processing it. Then I'll be in my feelings because of how I reacted. And now I'm trying to give her something because of how I reacted, but she still don't deserve it because she still did so. But also, so it's a cycle of stress going on, but it was based on how I responded, right? And so I'm trying to be more control of my emotions and how I react to certain things. So that demeanor piece is extremely important, because also one of the things that I felt like I've grown, you know, you feel like you overcome something until you get triggered, right? That whole don't allow disappointment to decide my demeanor. There's been certain tests that I haven't passed because I'm like, disappointment started to brew up, and I don't sin, but I don't treat a person how I should be treating them. I don't sin, and I claim I forgave you, but my energy and my mood, my demeanor, let's down word, is not proven that I'm in a forgiving spirit, that I'm moving forward, that I've matured in Christ. Not that I'm seeing, but at the level that I'm trying to become on who God has called me to be. There's certain things that I have to grow and mature in, and my reactions is one of them. So that blessed me, that reaction piece, and diving into that and how important that is.
That's good, man. Look, you all really were all see. That's the downside of going last, that y'all have already hit all the good points. But I'm gonna still come behind you and give you some, because really that whole letting disappointment determine your demeanor, I had that in my notes as well. He also talked about obedience, right? In here, and then he also talked about outcomes. One of the things that stuck with me is where he said that outcomes belong to God, reactions belong to us. The outcome belongs to God, reactions belong to us. And so, Mike, I think what you say really just flows well into us understanding that we may not control external factors. We don't understand. We can't change how people sometimes will present certain things to us. We can't understand or really affect how things come to us, but we can determine our reaction to it. And I'm right there with you, man. I think you gave us a parenting one-on-one. One-on-one, like when it comes to look, how your child acts, and look, now you responded the wrong ways, and now you're trying to make up for it. I feel like we've all been in that scenario, but because it's difficult, man. It really is. It's just difficult to make sure that we are always reacting in the right way. You know, that is very difficult. But I think when we seek God, and that's what Pastor has been telling us about, when we really get in our word, now it becomes less about how we would respond in our flesh, but how God would want us to respond. And that becomes the focus of it. So that was really good. I appreciate that, that you all talked about that. Pastor, also
Before you move,
ahead.
Something just hit my spirit, because, and this is me, when I was younger, I would think, I sound like Pastor. When I was younger, so from a reaction standpoint, I think the first thing that comes to mind is what we say, or like the words are not popping off, but it's more so reaction is that respond part. So
okay,
if I don't respond a certain way, I feel like I've done well. But there's been times to where when I don't respond all, it's still a part of the reaction. So sometimes if my child would say something or someone would say something, me giving them the silent treatment is a reaction. So sometimes we get like, all right, I didn't react how I wanted to, but it's still a part of the reaction because of the response. So sometimes it's like I didn't react or I didn't say, but I know what I'm doing. Whether it's my wife, whether it's a family member, I'm not responding to a text message. I ain't reacting like I want to pop off for them.
Right.
And yes, we have a cooling down period, but sometimes we can let that spew over. It can creep through the back door, kind of like, well, I haven't talked to them about 2-3 weeks, 2-3 months. That's creeps into the reaction part, right? So yeah, that was in my spirit too.
And I hop in there real quick, because it goes to the sermon. It goes to what PMJ said. Surrendering reactions is formation. And when he was breaking down formation, he gave what formation is working on the heart. So when Mike is talking about even though he didn't say anything out of the way, his heart posture might not have been in the way where his reaction was correct. So that just goes to show that it takes more than what you're outwardly expressing, but how your heart is forming and how you're doing the inward work is part of that formation as well. That's part of that surrendering your reaction, because your reaction is how you feel as well, even if it doesn't exert a certain way. So that's good, Mike. I like how you said it.
Let me put it one time. Because it hit. I'm sorry, y'all.
Boy, hey, the spirit moving. I'll tell you, if I could, really quickly.
I just want to say this one little thing.
Oh, go ahead, man. You got it.
Force is a reaction, but formation is a relationship. That's what I'm saying.
Leslie, put that in the notes.
Leslie. Leslie, put it in the notes. Right. Yeah, man. So let's stay there, y'all. Let's stay there and just keep going in that vein about this whole approval versus assignment and what that really looks like in our daily lives, because sometimes we can get to the point where we can't tell the difference. If I'm just talking about my own experience, that me sometimes in my doing, it's hard for me to tell the difference. Hey, unless I just sit down and check my motives, am I doing this because I'm pleasing people, or do I really feel like I am, working in my calling, in my assignment? I can give you an example. When at the church, when I was really heavy in Rock City media, and so I would do the announcements and things, and I would love doing it. And when I first got involved, I was like, this is my assignment. God has blessed me with a voice. I'm going to use it to glorify him. And so I would go and do that. And then I had to check myself at a certain point in time, because there would be, and I'm sure people get it on Devo, whether you're serving in church or serving in ministry, people begin to know your name. They begin to just say, oh man, hey, how you doing? Because they see you in a certain light serving. And now it's like, all right, am I doing this because people now know my name and I want them to continue to know my name? So now I must continue to serve and do it at this level. Or am I doing it because I need to be an assignment, because God blessed me with this? And so yes, man's approval may come as a byproduct, but that should never be the ultimate motive. That should never be the ultimate goal, is what Paul is telling us in this text. It's like, look, am I doing this? Because if you look at it, look, it's a church that he's writing to, right? The church, they know who Paul is. They know Paul. They know the work that he's done on behalf of Christ. So if we now are working on behalf of Christ, a byproduct of that is people may know who we are. That's great. That's great. But when it becomes the motive and that's what's driving you, rather than it being a part of your assignment, I think that's when we start to shift. So let's sit there and talk about, hey, has there been a time where your motive has shifted from being, hey, I am striving toward working in my assignment and my call for God. It has shifted to, now I feel like I'm working for the approval of man.
Yeah. So I will step out there. I like to be transparent. Y'all let them feel how you feel, but so if I be fully transparent, right, that people pleasing thing is something that I've worked through and I continue to work through. But here's the thing: when we talk about approval versus assignment, I found myself on the approval end because I've avoided conflict, right? So I allow the avoidance of conflict and how someone else feel, because here, if I'm being even more transparent, how I was raised was when I experienced conflict or adversity to use my hands to figure it out. And so as I began to grow, I'm like, I know I can't do that. And I don't have the best response. We talk about surrendering right now. So let me avoid this conflict. Let me go ahead and figure out how we can work something out, and working something out may not be the assignment that God has given me. He probably put me there for some for some friction, for some iron sharpening some iron. He probably put me there because he wanted someone to be bold enough to lead and to say and to do things in a certain way. But I converted for the approval, right? And depending on the place and the assignment, maybe I was called to do something, and nobody's growing spiritually, and nobody is moving, shifting, nobody's getting what God has called them to be, because I decided rather for the approval instead of the assignment. And so if I'm being fully transparent, the avoidance of conflict has caused me in my past to decide on the approval of man over the assignment that God has called me to do.
It's good, man.
Wow. Yeah, I think for me, I've always been sensitive to, like, not trying not to do that, because I think when you look at it, like, just take Rock City Church, man. This is not normal for, like, a pastor like Pastor Mike Jr. to be willing to just so freely share the platform. And so, like, that's what you got to understand. So you really got to protect that decision and not make it about not make it about yourself. So I think, but that's a little bit of my personality too. And so I have to in certain roles begin to, like, make myself do more and not just always in the background. And so I think that's just a important piece of, like, context, is like, oftentimes, people are trusting you or putting you in a position, whether it's in church, at work, in life. And so don't always abuse that, like, trust or investment, or like what somebody saw you in, like, develop through that. Because, like I said, at one point in time, you may be in a position where you're the one that has to trust to share your platform with other people, and the way you kind of operate in your serving capacity, I think is what you want to see from folks when they're helping you achieve something. And so I just kind of add that piece of context to it from, like, the other side of the point of view. And
Come on.
there's very few people that are willing to just, let people share the platform the way that Pastor Mike does.
Yeah, you're right about that.
So good. Go ahead, Tan. Denise, I'm sorry.
Can you repeat the question, Julian? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. No, I was just saying, has there been a time where you have felt where you started out in purpose, working toward your assignment, and then that may have shifted to working for man's approval, and then you just had to check yourself?
Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I had the right question.
Yeah.
But I would say it for me. It's more so. It's more towards me trying to make everybody feel comfortable.
Yeah.
In leadership, sometimes you have to do the hard thing. And so I would say, especially when people aren't used to you being in leadership, or like you may have been able to get a certain type of favor where you jumped over certain people. Let's just give an example in the workplace, like when you have to do and make a decision that is not favorable to everybody, and you are the person who has to deliver the message. Sometimes I'm working through it, but I find myself trying to, like, soften what needs to be said, and in that trying to make other people uncomfortable, it can kind of misconstrue the message. So the severity or the depth of what needs to be said doesn't even get portrayed, or it doesn't get articulated correctly. So I find myself having to over explain, or, like, make sure I go back or recorrect certain things. So in this season, I'm learning that if God called me to it, He gonna be the one to help me deliver the message and get me through it, and not dumb me down. So, for lack of better terms, not soften the blow or soften what I have to say, because I know that if He's calling me to it, it's a purpose, that my contribution to the conversation or what needs to be said is exactly what He wants in that moment, and not try to get it from a view of, oh, they won't accept it because it's coming from me, or I have to soften it for lack of better terms. And in that also, I just want to be sure to like say that it's not from a place of like trying to please people, but it's just from a place of, oh, they're not gonna understand anyway. No, it's not in me, it's in God placing something in me to say. So if I do have to portray a message, I have to know that it's not in me, that I'm articulating these things. Trust that God is going to give me what to say, and I rely on Luke 12:12 a lot, and it's at just the right time the Holy Spirit will give me the words to say, because sometimes I feel like I'm not gonna know what to say, or I'm not gonna say it correctly. You may not, I'm not, but God is, and the Holy Spirit within me is gonna give me what to say. So just trusting that He's not gonna leave me, and He's not gonna humiliate me when I am in leadership and I do have to say that hard thing. So I think for me in this, that's what that looks like.
Delisa, you right on. Look, that's it. Hit the button. I'm telling you, she was on it. She's on it. Look, Delisa, you on it, Rod. I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. But man, what you said was so powerful. Just about sometimes we do, and somebody put it in the chat, just about us having to have these uncomfortable conversations, right? Yes. And the way that Pastor Mike talked to us yesterday and really gave us language for that is to surrender. He said, surrender our reactions, really surrender all of our actions to God. And when we do that, just like you said, when we get in those situations where we don't know what to say, we don't want to offend, but we want to get our point across, the Bible tells us, cast our cares on the Lord because He cares for us, right? So if something is on our mind and we're worried about, we are anxious about it, we are feeling discomfort about having to deliver a message or do something that's uncomfortable, God cares about that because we care about that. And so we can cast it to Him and He'll give us direction on how to navigate that. So I just thought that was so powerful. And Rob, were you about to jump in? Oh,
yeah, I said it all, but if I could, because Bishop did say this, and I don't know if he said it in. I know he said it at 9 o'clock, and he said it in 11:30. Well, he said it in all three. I'm sorry, that he's trying not to get to the platform he's on. He's trying not to get to a point where people worship him over God.
Yeah,
So, in that type of platform, and the platform he has, it's easy to get drawn into that. It's easy to get drawn into the approval and the applause of man. It's easy to get to kind of like, when people say your name out on the streets, or people know who you is just based off what you do or who you are. It's easy to get drawn in that, but it's the part about when he said that it's God, period. And then he said, I'm going to listen to my pastor, period. It's not, I'm going to listen to God and my pastor. No, I'm going to listen to God, period. I'm going to do what God says, period. And that really woke me up when he, in that, because we can easily get drawn in that, even being on Devo Energy or being a part of being connected to Rock City, we can get drawn in that. So it puts that into that part. Me, myself, I'll tell you in a minute, I give God glory. Yeah. I give God glory because the fact is, if I be lifted up, if I be lifted up, I'm going to draw all men unto you, God. I'm trying to be a light that draws people to God. 1 Thessalonians 2:4 says, our purpose is to please God, not people. He alone examines the motives of our heart. So even sitting on a platform such as Devo Energy, God examines our motives. What is your purpose of being on this platform? We have to understand that surrender is voluntarily. It's not forced.
Surrender.
It's ongoing, not one-time thing. Surrender is wisdom, not weakness. Whoever wants to be, in Luke 9:23 tells us, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me. So surrender precedes the shaping, and submission sparks that significance. That's all I got to say.
My.
Look, my man. Hey, come on. You gonna come with it, right? Gonna come with it.
I need a my in the chat. I need a my.
Surrender is voluntary, not forced. There we go. Surrender is not voluntary. And so, everything that we have been talking about, we've talked about surrender, we've talked about obedience. And so as we end off today, I know we're coming up on time. I just want to submit this to the group for you all to just drop in your last comments on there. What would it look like if our first response was obedience to God instead of chasing the approval of man, right? What would our life look like if our first response was obedience instead of chasing the approval of man. I started reading, and this was on a past Devo, right? But we were talking about 1 Samuel. It was the story of David. And before that, it talks about what Samuel is having a conversation with Saul. And he's saying, obedience is better than sacrifice. Many of us have probably heard that before. Obedience is better than sacrifice. So instead of being partially obedient and then having to come back and say, oh, well, God, I'm so sorry, but here's something to make up for it, right? Here's something to make up. What if our first response was obedience instead of chasing the approval of man? And then we fall into some sort of sin or wayward way. And then we got to run back to God and say, well, God, look, I know I did it, but here I'm on Devo energy. Instead of doing it 5 days a week, I'm gonna jump on Devo 7 days a week. I'm gonna make my own Devo. It's just So instead of just trying to come up with this elaborate sacrifice to God, what if you said, God, I'm gonna just be obedient the first time, right? So let's talk about that. What does that type of life look like?
Oh wow! So I'll say like that could look illogical. I'll use the word illogical because like sometimes you'll do things people don't understand. It don't make a lot of sense. And so I'll use an example of I was living in Washington State almost 10 years ago. So we're living in Washington State, me and my wife, no kids, like both making just good money, like living condo downtown. I could look that way and see the mountain. I could look over there and see some water. The YMCA was a block away. So I was playing basketball every morning, like 5 days a week. Everybody ain't gonna feel that, but I was playing basketball. Like just roll out the bed. I'm in the gym 5 minutes later and playing basketball. There was a Nike clearance store about 40 minutes away. And there's only 3 of those in the country. So like I had all this stuff, but I just began to feel like really out of purpose. And so like, people will look at that and as I was leaving that situation and moving back to Birmingham and will be like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like you had it made, like you had everything that, anybody could want, like you were set up and you moved back to Birmingham and like, you didn't know what you was going to do. And so when you feel that kind of being led to do a thing and that obedience that comes with that, like people aren't always going to understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. And so it will look illogical to other people.
That's it. That's good, man. It will look illogical.
I'm gonna hop in there because it kind of go with the same thing because you have to make this when you are leaning towards obedience and stop negotiating it. It's gonna look illogical. I had to write that word down. I ain't gonna lie to you. I gotta try to add that to my vocabulary. But for me, it's doing that illogical thing boldly. So I think that's been the thing for me because I'll get in a space where I'll start to like find the logical in it. Like I'll start to write all the things that make sense about it and write all the pros and the cons and start to weigh things. But in making that illogical decision, that's God, that's faith. I have to do it boldly and trusting that God is telling me, and that's the alignment piece. So short and sweet, boldly for me.
That's
illogical and boldly. Look, I love those 2 words, illogical and boldly. That's good.
For me, obedience is discipline. It is obedient. Obedience is discipline. And you look at it, discipline is choosing what you want most over what you got now. This discipline is being intentional. What you would say, run it back.
We got to bring it back, run it back. We ain't been running it back lately. You got to run that back. Discipline
is choosing what you want most over what you want now. And that what that means, discipline develops your depth. It develops longevity. It develops a solid foundation. That's what obedience is for me. Obedience is also consistency, and that your consistency cultivates your character. It cultivates your integrity.
That's good, man.
Sweet, that's sweet. I think for me, it's doing hard things first. It starts when remember I talked about that avoidance piece. When I create a rhythm of doing the hard things first instead of trying to put it on the back end of the day, respond to the hard emails first, have the hard conversations first, do the hard things that God has already revealed to me first, because once I get through that, I'm like, oh, obeying God ain't that bad. Like I wasn't, I was stressful, but now this is what that peace that surpasses all understanding. Like it's still on fire over here because I was obedient, but now I'm able to feel a little bit different because I had that peace because I was for me, being intentional about doing the hard things first, because oftentimes that delayed obedience is what causes me to be disobedient. And so if I do the hard things first, I can be obedient first, and I don't have room for the delayed obedience to creep in.
Man, that delayed obedience. See, you own it right there. That's a word. Well, look, I appreciate you all for sharing that. Family, look, we have come to the end of today's Devo Energy, but we are certainly not out of word, right? We appreciate you all joining. And maybe you feel like you got something out of this word. We hope that you did, right? We hope that you got something out of today's message. And you may feel like, look, I've been coming to Rock City long enough. I've been joining Devo long enough, and I want to be part of this family. And if you feel like that, we encourage you to text home to 28950. I can tell you by personal experience, and Tam says this all the time, many people on this panel say it, that this is good ground, right? I have developed personally since I've been here at Rock City. I'm sure there have been several people who can share their testimony about how they've gotten closer to God. And with us now being in this fast, it is only drawing us near to God, right? You know, drawing us closer to God. And so that just goes right into the same vein of if you desire to become. Pastor said that our theme for 2026 is become, that we are becoming closer to God. We are becoming all that God has called us to be. Please text 28950. We would love for you to join us as a part of our fast. Again, we are on week 2. All right. Week 1 was about developing that rhythm. Okay. Developing the rhythm. And now that we have gotten in the rhythm, now we're about to go ahead and go into integration mode. We're about to put our faith into action and making sure that we are living out our faith. Okay. Because when I was reading last night, it said that faith can't only be internal, right? It should draw and produce some sort of expression, whether that be through our choices, our actions, through whatever it is, it should draw out and produce something in us. So we encourage you to text become to 28950 so you can join us on that fast. You'll get some workouts too, right? You'll get some, you may see some faces on there that you know, right? Get a little Zumba in, okay, you know, get a little. Hey, right. Move your body a little bit. You'll get some workouts with it this week. And then lastly, if it is your time to give, okay, we want to encourage you to text iRock and the number to 28950. I always say, and Pastor always says, when you give to Rock City, you not only give to a church, but you give through a church. Again, you know, this allows us at Rock City to be a blessing to so many people, and we can't do it without your help and support and your obedience as well, right? Giving your tithe is an act of obedience, as what Rod and the rest of the team were just talking about. So please, if it is your time to do that, we encourage you to text iRock in the amount to 28950. Well, family, we have come to the end of our time. I've enjoyed being on here with Devo Energy with you all today. All right. So everybody, please have a blessed week. Remember to log on to the fast. Stay obedient, stay steadfast, because we are believing that God is going to do some amazing things at the end and during this 21 days. All right.
Let's go.
All right.
Amen.